It may be trade season for the Bucks. Did Giannis Antetokounmpo officially put in a soft trade demand? The latest in the reporting from Shams Charania and what it means for the rest of this season and summer for the Milwaukee Bucks. Coming up next on Locked On Bucks.
You are Locked On Bucks, your daily Milwaukee Bucks podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
All right, let's get into it. It's Locked On Bucks. I'm Justin Garcia, joined as always by Camille Davis. You can hear me on the Bucks Radio Network. You can hear Camille and see Camille on our Locked On NBA coverage and the Technical Foul podcast as well. Today's episode number 2, is brought to you by our friends at FanDuel. It's the last call for football on FanDuel. If you're a new customer, bet just $5 and get $200 in bonus bets if you win. Did we get a trade request, Camille? I guess we'll start there as the tweet from Shams earlier today, and let's just read this exactly as to not mince words, but we had a handful of these coming out earlier today. The one that really sparked all the reaction was about 11 o'clock this morning, 10 o'clock, just after we recorded. Two-time MVP Giannis Antetokounmpo is ready for a new home at the February 5th NBA trade deadline or in the offseason, as several rival teams make aggressive offers to the Milwaukee Bucks for him, and the franchise is starting to listen, league sources tell ESPN. Now, I'm just going to say this because I've seen quite a bit of it as well. Like you've been pushing this whole thing for months and there's nothing new in that reporting. Not necessarily anything new in there. The last part was the interesting part with the franchise is starting to listen, according to league sources.
Yeah, because all up to this point, we've heard the Bucks have repeatedly refuted any trade request conversations about Giannis. And the part of just hearing like the team is starting to listen makes it feel like we might be getting to this point. Like I made a joke with a few of my friends when the news broke. And I was like, this whole season, I'm like, Giannis has been giving me Donnell Jones energy. I'm not sure if you remember the song from like the late 90s, early 2000s, Where I Want to Be. But
Camille, I'm like 25 years older than you as we got into the age discussion on the Discord today, too.
But that's how I feel like Giannis has been all season. Like when you love someone, you just don't treat them bad. Oh, how I feel so sad now that I want to leave. She's crying her heart to me. How can you let this be? But I need time to see where I want to be. But the funny thing about that report is that it still didn't technically say that he's requesting a trade. Like that language has not really been in there at this point. But it does feel like we're at a point in this relationship where it just might be coming to a close. Again, I think that Donnell Jones song fits very well into this season and Giannis's positioning. But yeah, it feels like this is the most momentum we've had around this since all the noise has started around where it's Giannis' future going to be, and is it going to be in Milwaukee?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think we're ever going to see a trade request if this year is any indication of it. It's very clear neither side wants to be the bad guy here. And I think we've talked about it before. If you don't accept an extension or make it clear I'm not going to sign an extension, that is not a verb trade request. For all intents and purposes, that is a trade request. The wording too of ready for a new home, like that feels like a soft trade request. And it's an awkward spot for me to be in for the obvious reasons, but even more awkward where I don't want to say I'm defending Shams, but like, let's view this under a critical lens, at least. If this were any other player in the league, Bucks fans would be saying that's over. Like he's clearly headed out. All the things that have accumulated on the way here, and that's currently where we're at. I know it's happened through the years with Giannis, and it feels like a never-ending task that we hear about Well, this team is going after Giannis. The Heat are keeping their eyes on Giannis, and the Knicks that we heard in the offseason and other teams. And for so many years it's out there, but it doesn't happen that it's because he is lying. I think we have to be willing and open to accept the fact that this may be where it's headed. And I'm not going to, we're not going to turn this into how trustworthy the media is and how fake this news is and whether or not this is accurate reporting. At the very least, we can acknowledge there is a lot of smoke to this. And even some of the responses that we have gotten this season, after games, at media day, I mean, we're all kind of sweeping that under the rug if you're saying this is fake and this is part of the agenda to get him out of Milwaukee. I mean, Giannis himself back at media day said, I don't recall meeting with the ownership group over the summer. 20 minutes after we heard Wes Eden say he went to Greece and had a meeting with Giannis. All of it that's been out there. I mean, you could end this at any moment and give an answer that's more definitive in that I want to finish. We've heard, like, I hope to retire a Buck, but there's always been a caveat that's been added to, but the organization can do this, but trades happen. And that's true, right? We saw Luka Doncic traded, but you do hold most of the cards in this relationship. And if you wanted to be a Buck for your entire career, there's a 99% chance of that happening. If those are the intentions you're making clear and saying, look, I know we're struggling right now. I know the makeup of things doesn't look great with how things haven't fit, everything else that we've critiqued and will continue to get into, but I'm willing to see this through and I want to be here. We haven't heard that, right? We've heard steps in that direction. We haven't fully gotten there, and we've seen just as many steps in the other direction.
Yeah, we have. Like, if it was, to your point, just the reporting alone, I get the skepticism. And honestly, even with the reporting and with Giannis's comments, I understand how Bucks fans can see that report and be like, I don't believe it. Like, I don't believe it, especially after you see the article in Athletic with Sam Amick talking about Giannis saying, I will never ask for a trade from the Milwaukee Bucks, and how that was a victory lap for so many Bucks fans in the moment of like, yeah, you heard him. He never is going to request a trade from Milwaukee. But it's like a week or so later after the OKC game where he's asked like, hey, do you think you'll be here for the trade deadline? And he's like, I don't know. Like, we'll see. Take every day as it is. Even in the training camp when he went, hey, I'm a Buck, I'm here. But if I change my mind in 6 to 7 months, like, that's human too. Like, every time Giannis has kind of talked about it, he's made it very clear, to me at least, that he loves Milwaukee. He loves being a Buck. And ultimately, if he could have his way, he would do nothing but be a Milwaukee Buck. But he also has concerns about if this franchise can contend for championships, which is why I feel he has kept that door open. A little bit of the hedging with the, yeah, if I change my mind, then that's human, or I won't do this, but I'm not sure if I'll be here. I don't control my agents, but I pay them. But all the different things we've been hearing this season feels like it's just been kind of hedging in case he does have an exit from Milwaukee. And at this point, I think I mentioned it on today's show or maybe on Technical File this past week, but like, I just want clarity at this point. Yeah. Like, I want clarity on the situation. If it's staying, then let's do that. Let's stay. But again, you won't even get that final clarity until October when he's able to sign an extension. So you have to go through a whole summer still of the noise and the conversation around it. And even if he's not traded before the trade deadline, I don't think that would mean that nothing is going to happen in the offseason either. Like, we still have some time for this to play out, assuming a trade doesn't happen before the deadline. Like, if he's still on the team on February 6th, these conversations still won't go away because it's still a whole offseason to get through before you get to October where he can finally sign that extension.
Continue to leave your thoughts in the comments. I'm genuinely curious the split of fans who do think like this is just a fabricated media story and it's done to drum up more interest and get Giannis extracted from the Bucks. Like, what is the reason that that's the stance that you're taking? I'm genuinely curious to hear that and see that. So we'll continue to see the comments that are trickling in and address those. And I suppose we'll pivot to some other things to keep an eye on for this group, not even pertaining to Giannis entirely, but just overall, we've gone through this quite a bit, but the details on that pick swap and some of the things to keep in mind, the future assets game, we'll start to get into that discussion coming up next on Locked On Bucks.
I carry a lot of responsibility in my household. If something happened to me, there would be serious consequences. We have a mortgage, we got tuition, we got everyday bills. Those aren't going anywhere if something happens to me. And I know that's an overwhelming feeling, but I'm taking steps to protect my family by getting life insurance through Ethos. Ethos makes getting life insurance fast, easy, and 100% online. You can get a quote in seconds, apply in minutes, and get same-day coverage. There's no medical exam. You just answer a few simple health questions. You can get up to $3 million in coverage. Some policies are as low as $30 a month. And as of March 2025, Business Insider named Ethos the #1 no medical exam instant life insurance provider. Ethos has 4.8 out of 5 stars on Trustpilot with over 3,000 reviews. Protect your family with life insurance from Ethos now by going to ethos.com/LockedOnNBA. In as little as 10 minutes, you can get your free quote and up to $3 million in coverage at ethos.com/LockedOnNBA. That's ethos.com/LockedOnNBA. Ethos.com/LockedOnNBA. Application times and rates may vary.
Okay, as one more reminder to put out there as well, I saw one of the comments, a few of them on the show that we did earlier today, people unaware of the Discord server that we have that's out there. But if you want to be a part of that, still time to sign up for the Everydayer Club, especially now with trade season here and the trade deadline just over a week away. You get a free month of the Everydayer Club to help you get ready. You get access to that Discord server. The Everydayer Club gets you access to the group of Bucks fans out there, plus national chat so you can hear what else is taking place throughout the league. And, of course, ad-free episodes of Locked On Bucks. Sign up before the trade deadline, February 5th. Sign up before that date. Use the code DEADLINE and get your first month free. Tap the link in the show notes to learn more. Seems to be pretty mixed in a lot of the comments that we're seeing so far, and people that kind of feel like, I feel like this is kind of coming to its closure, and still that group that's hanging on to, I don't believe this, because it's coming from ESPN and coming from Shams Charania. But the things to keep in mind for the Bucks, regardless of Giannis's future with this team, is this summer's draft. And we've talked about it quite a bit. There seems to still be confusion over the first round assets here, but the Bucks are going to get a pick in this summer's draft in the first round, and it is going to be a good one. You know, chances are they cannot get the #1 pick. That is the only certainty, is because of that swap with New Orleans, which Atlanta gets. You cannot pick #1. The best you can do is picking second. As of this moment, on Wednesday afternoon, the Bucks have the 7th worst record in the league. I mean, just think about that, Camille, and let that sink in. 7th worst record in the league for the Bucks. So that means if the season were to end today, they could slide as low as 11th in the draft, because 4 teams could leapfrog and get into the top 4. The first 3 teams have an identical chance at the 1 seed. I mean, it's weighted where it's basically the top 4 have the same chance, but a 14% chance if you have the worst, second worst, or third worst record, 12.5% chance to win if you're number 4. The Bucks have a 7.5% chance to win the lottery if they are the 7th worst record. That jumps up to a 9% chance if you're 6th, and it gets to 10.5 if you're 5th. Now, that part is not all that important, because what New Orleans does is the important part. You don't want to win the lottery because that's going to Atlanta, and then you're stuck with whatever New Orleans gets. But you would love to have, you know, New Orleans win the lottery and you finish second, that you both jump up there. One team to keep an eye on is the Washington Wizards. And
why Washington?
I bring this up because, to be clear, this is a pipe dream at best. We have heard reporting, and again, to be clear, it has been verified reporting, that there was at least flirtation and interest between the big fella, and a team that's in New York. That team, the Knicks, own the Wizards' first-round pick this year, but there is a caveat. It is top 8 protected. So if the Wizards are in the top 8, they keep the pick, and that becomes 2 seconds, I believe, next year and the year after. If they fall outside of the top 8, the Knicks get that pick. And that becomes an asset to move. Well, we can give you the 9th pick in the draft. In addition to this, that we're either sending to another team for more assets that go to you, or we give you a player that can help you win now as well. Because here's the other complicated part. Depending on what course you take here, like if that's what we move towards and there is a trade that's worked out, you also have to keep in mind it's not as simple as like, well, just tank and blow it up because of the gap between now and 2031. Like you may get a blue chip superstar in the making player in this draft if you end up picking second, third, right? But that's it. You don't have 2027. That is the final piece in the original Jrue Holiday trade. 2028 is a pick swap that has become very complicated with the Blazers, the Celtics. I think the Wizards are in there. 2029 goes to the Blazers outright. 2030 is another pick swap, and it's another multi-team pick swap. So this is it. This is your chance to get a player with your pick. So you'd have to look at a package that is either immediate assets in this draft, which is very, very good, or it's young players that are going to help you bridge the gap through that 3-year stretch. That young, good players, too, that the team just says, well, it's Giannis that we're talking about, so we got to give this guy up for him. Those are the options that you're looking at, and I've already seen some of the comments, and I don't disagree. Like, the number 9 pick is not enough to give up for Giannis. It is a very loaded draft, and it wouldn't just be here, the number 9 pick and Karl Anthony Towns. Like, if this is the route you're going, Karl Anthony Towns and OG, that's of no value to you, because ideally you just flip those off and get other assets. Okay, give us your pick in 2027 and another pick in 2026 where we can start to stockpile to make up for that 3-year drought where we're not going to have anything.
And that's my position on it too, where it's like, I think with what Giannis means to the franchise, you don't want to send him somewhere where he has no shot at contending. We're not sure at this point if he requests if the trade happens. We're speaking on the hypotheticals, right? If it happens, if he'll have a list and be like, I want to go to these places. My personal stance on that is we'll try to honor it if they have the right package.
The best we can.
Like, the best that we can. But it might end up being a situation like Damian Lillard when he was traded from Portland, where Milwaukee wasn't on the list. But it's like, hey, they're not bad. You could contend here if you go here. I know they're not on your list. But like
you're going car shopping, and it's like, okay, I know you wanted this in black. This one has all the specs you were looking for, but we only got blue. So is this good enough? Like, okay, fine.
And the Bucks are going to have to do what's best for them ultimately, because the reality of how we even got to this situation with the Bucks asset cover being so bare, which is part of why some of the national media conversations around the Bucks and Giannis have been frustrating me, is because people act as if the Bucks haven't done anything around Giannis to try to continue to contend. If anything, they have mortgaged too much of their future to try to continue to contend. And it's like all the moves, no, they did not all work out, but they swung for the fences with Jrue Holiday. They swung for the fences with Damian Lillard. They swung for the fences, waving and stretching Dame to try to bring in Miles Turner, because with Giannis's play style, there is a very specific type of big you need to be next to him in the lineup. So, like, for all people who are saying, like, oh, he should leave Milwaukee because Milwaukee did everything they could to try to continuously put a team around him that could contend. Like, if the Bucks miss the playoffs this year, which I think they will, it'll be the first time in 10 years that the Bucks have not been in the playoffs. Not talking play-in, playoffs. Like, the franchise did what they could to try to put the best team around him, but hey, sometimes the moves, best laid intentions don't always work out the way that you plan to. So for the Bucks, if this happens, they have to recoup assets. They have to get the young players. They have to get the draft picks. They have to start rebuilding the cupboard of assets that has gone completely bare because of all the moves that they've trying to continuously take to contend. And the last few years, you look at it, like, injuries have really doomed this Bucks team. Like, it's not as if the rosters have been bad. Injuries have come at a very unfortunate part. The Doc River criticisms, right? And I'll give them to you because I said it this season after a while. I'm going to be someone who tends to be later to see it and say it than someone who wants to jump on it first just to say I said it first. Like, Doc Rivers has not been good enough. When he was hired, I was like, hey, we got Doc at home. You could just kept Bud for this. But the appeal of Doc Rivers was like, hey, there are two ball dominant superstars who are now on this team with Giannis and with Dame. You have Chris, you have other vets. Doc is a guy who, with his veteran experience, his ability to communicate, he'll be able to establish roles and guys can go forward from there, understanding what's expected of them. And my ultimate hope with that was like, hey, whatever coaching deficiencies Doc Rivers has, I hope that the talent on this team can overcome it. With this Bucks roster, with Giannis being the only superstar,
narrator, it did not.
Like, it did not. But also, that doesn't fit what this team is doing anymore. So, like, I get it. Some of the swings didn't work, but we are here in this situation now because the Bucks continue to try to do whatever they could to help Giannis. It just did not work out, and now we're at the end of the road again. About to hear Giannis start hitting his sweeping the DVDs from that Donnell Jones song very soon because it just feels like the time has made its course, but the Bucks are going to have to do what's best for them while respecting Giannis to a degree. You don't want to send him to like New Orleans or something like that, but the package that the Bucks get back if a Giannis trade does happen, it has to be good for the team more so than prioritizing Giannis's top 3 teams that he would want to go to.
Okay, so the notion of wasting prime and like what is actually owed to any player, I do want to touch on that as we start to wrap things up. Coming up after this, continue to flood us with your comments as well, as there's a ton of you in here leaving a whole lot of thoughts on this. So continue to get to those, and we'll address them coming up after this on Locked On Bucks. Time to talk to you now about the season that we are in, and that season is Super Bowl season. Our friends over at FanDuel are here to remind you it's last call for NFL Sundays here. One last kickoff, the final chance to get in on the action before the NFL season officially comes to a close. Super Bowl 60. FanDuel's making sure you're right in the middle of it with a special offer just in time for the biggest game of the year. Whether you're backing the favorite, riding the underdog, or building one last same-game parlay, this is the game everyone's been waiting for. This is where predictions turn into plays, stats turn into storylines, and every snap feels bigger. It's the perfect way to cap off the season and make the Super Bowl even more exciting from kickoff to the final whistle. If you're a new customer, bet just $5 and get $200 in bonus bets if you win. Make it count, because after the Super Bowl, the season is over. Last call for football on FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of Super Bowl 60. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. Tax season doesn't have to take over your life this time of year. TurboTax makes it easier than ever this year to just hand things off and move on with your day. With TurboTax Full Service, you can have your tax done for you by a trusted local expert, start to finish, without the stress or the guesswork. Instead of spending hours trying to figure out forms, you can meet with a local TurboTax expert in person or connect online, and they'll handle everything from W-2s to self-employed forms and work to get you every deduction. You can upload your documents, go about your day, and get updates right in the TurboTax app. A huge time saver and gives you peace of mind knowing an expert is handling everything. For a limited time, you can have your taxes done by a local TurboTax expert for just $150 all in. If a TurboTax expert did not file for you last year, just need to file by February 28th to get that perk. So take taxes off your plate and get your life back to normal. Visit TurboTax.com/local to book your appointment today. Okay, so the notion too of what is owed to a play, like you just touched on it, Camille. This is the first time in 10 years that I think we pretty much know there's not going to be mid-April basketball. Like, there's not going to be postseason for this.
No birthday basketball for me this year.
Opens up WrestleMania weekends for both of us. 10 years though that you had that stretch. And for really like 7 of those, like it was upper level competition where you approach the season at worst thinking, I think we're at the very worst, we're a fringe level contender here, and you got a championship out of it. That's not a given for everyone. And like I get, this isn't just for Giannis, for every single player. They're competitors at the highest level. That's how you get to where they are. And with that, like, you want to be in the most important games. Frank has talked about it too. When we look back at the NBA Cup last year of like, damn, this is what it was like to have Giannis in those competitive games and in those moments. And that's what we missed the last couple of years. But unfortunately, not everyone gets that and doesn't get that consistently. You had this 10-year run where for the most part you were, but it is very rare for that to happen. Like, there are ebbs and flows, just like any business. It is cyclical. And the Bucks have fought like hell to avoid that downturn, to make sure we're going to keep us at this level just as long as we got this guy around, because of how good he is, what he's meant to us on the court, off the court. I mean, that's the other impact that I know fans don't care about. But without Giannis, there are ripple effects in your organization, and there are going to be financial decisions and business decisions made on people that are going to impact their earnings and their well-being. That, you know, is going to be tough for everyone in that organization because of what he does on a national level, on international level, in terms of a business generator for tourism and everything else. And that is why the Bucks have always maintained we're not going to trade him. Right? The only way we're trading him is if you come to us and you tell us this is over, for all of those reasons. But they have done, and you've articulated this, everything they can to make sure we are going to set you up as best we can to succeed, even if it means we are really costing ourselves in the long run here. Doesn't matter, because that's the experience that we want to have here as long as you're here. And that has just slowly started to catch up to you.
Yeah.
You don't go this long. Right? Unless with one guy in the same core, you don't go this long with that amount of success without at some point at least hitting the reset button and saying, let's start this game over again. Look at the Warriors, right? I mean, the reality is Steph Curry is in all likelihood going to finish his career with one team, with the Golden State Warriors. But the reality is, when we talk about good endings and storybook endings, the Warriors got that in 2022. No one told them, but that was it. And we've seen what's happened since then, trading for Jimmy Butler. Now, Jimmy Butler injury, like, man, we've experienced this and we know what this is like. The Warriors got their ending. That's what it was. You can say, well, what other guys have been competing for championships every single year in their career? I mean, Kevin Durant, I would point to. LeBron James, I would point to. Are there other names that come to mind for you? But what's the difference? Those guys jumped from team to team. You don't do it with a single team because of how this league and this business works. You have to take some lumps and regroup. Yeah. And the Bucks have just fought like hell to prevent that, knowing we don't know what's going to happen if we don't have this guy or if he decides he wants to leave. So let's just keep putting ourselves in this spot with him.
Yeah. And I know we're getting ready to wrap here, looking at the time. And I'll end with this. Thinking about this whole situation, what's going to come up next for the team and everything. I asked this question on the website formerly known as Twitter, on Blue Sky, and I'm going to also pose it to all the everydayers in the comments live on YouTube right now, as well as to everybody who's watching this on delay at the time of their own convenience. If Giannis does leave, does that change the way that you personally feel about him and what he did during his time in Milwaukee? And I asked that question because for myself personally, not too much. Like, I made the joke of, I just want one Wisconsin MVP. If they leave, to not do it in a way where it gets weird. Like, can we please just not be weird on the way out the door? We've seen it with the Packers, with Favre, with Rodgers. Don't want to see it with Giannis. Whatever it is, let it be clean. Let it just be, we are going to move on about our day. But Giannis gave everything he had to this state, to this city. I know that he loves the city going forward, so on and so forth. But like, his status with the franchise, in my opinion, does not change if he does leave. Now, if it ends up being a weird exit, it's going to cause some animosity, I know for sure. But like, I appreciate everything Giannis has done in the Bucks uniform. If that was the last time we saw Giannis play, when he injured himself, then so be it. But like, I respect Giannis. I'm thankful for the Giannis experience from watching him as a teenager come to Milwaukee, pointing up to the rafters, talking about like, one day maybe I'll be up here too. And knowing for a fact that whatever happens, he will be up there. He will get that statue. Like, he got us our first championship in 50 years with on his back. Fiserv Forum, the Dare District. I've been calling it the arena that Giannis built. Like, my respect levels for him are still very, very high, regardless of what happens. I just hope that the conclusion to this does not get drawn out or cost the Bucks in the long run, because I am going to be a Bucks fan with Giannis, without Giannis, until the day that I leave this particular earth. So I'm just really curious for all the fans, all the everydayers listening, like, will it affect your feelings on Giannis if he does leave, especially with how this season has gone? And of course, given all the Bucks have invested in trying to make sure that this team was going to be able to contend, so on and so forth. So I'm just really curious to hear from all the everydayers how they feel about that as well.
Yeah, I was trying to see if I had anything nearby that I could pull up and show here, but same thing of like, look, if this ends, doesn't change anything for me. I can't take any of the memories that we all have from 2021 and from these last 13 years of just watching this organization and this group become viable. And remember the feeling the first time you saw, man, the Bucks are appearing on national TV quite a bit. Or
we got a
first year, the Christmas Day game, when Giannis became a starter in the All-Star game, and when you're seeing Giannis draft his team next to LeBron James, like all of those things that we never imagined possible. And by the way, like I was actually texting with Peter Fagan this morning about things like that, and said, I couldn't imagine in that. And like, it's not Peter that entirely did it. He played a large role in the reshaping of this organization. And we were talking about those things. And he said, echoed those thoughts too, of like, it was a dream come true for all of us that we got to live through and experience that. And I mean, that's the important part, is we tried to put the message out there too. Frank mentioned it too, like, don't take Giannis for granted. Mm-hmm. The great things that he does that we can kind of gloss over because it's a nightly occurrence. Like, don't let that fall by the wayside. The run that was happening as you were living it in real time in the finals, like, savor this and appreciate it. I did. I have memories that will stay with me for life, that we all do. And hearing the way that people got to experience that, seeing it in Deer District and sharing it with people that were out there with us. I don't think anything impacts any of those stories and what Giannis did to make all of that possible. If we do, in fact, reach the conclusion here, which again, we have not, and we don't know what this will hold, but it's just yet another one of these along the way that have started to pile up here, and at least make you think, okay, we're going through some very, very rocky waters here for the group. That'll do it for today. I believe we're going to try to get Frank on later tonight and get his thoughts on all of this as well. So look for that coming your way tomorrow. And of course, leave your continued thoughts on the legacy that we've seen from this era of the Bucks and everything else as we continue to wait to see more and more that comes out in this situation. Again, that'll do it for today. Thanks to everybody for tuning in. Thanks to everybody that's joined the Everydayer Club as well, and those of you that have been active in the Discord. A lot more coming to that, as we've noted, and to look for that continued thoughts from Frank and others coming up on tomorrow's show. That'll do it for today. For Camille, I'm Justin. We'll talk with you guys once again tomorrow on Locked On Bucks.